Hello again, and welcome to day 110 of our exploration of the Bible. At the moment, we're looking at the divided kingdoms of Israel and Judah, and at the moment, we're looking at the ministry of Elijah. Elijah, in today's episode, calls Elisha to be his curate, his understudy, and his successor. Elijah calls Elisha in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verses 19 to 21. And I'll turn you round so you can see the text. Elijah left Sinai and discovered where Elisha was, ploughing with a team of oxen. There were 11 teams ahead of him, and his was the last. Elijah took his mantle off and put it on Elisha, and Elisha left his team. He ran after Elijah and said, "Can I just go and kiss my parents goodbye? Then I'll come with you." Elijah answered, "Off you go, but come back quickly. What I have just done to you is a serious matter." After that, Elisha killed his oxen, and using their wooden yoke as fuel, he cooked the meat and gave it to the people, who ate it all. Then he went with Elijah and followed him as his assistant. As we noted yesterday, after Elijah had anointed successors to the thrones of Syria and Israel, hoping that they would eventually take their places in history, Elijah's final command from God at Sinai was to anoint a successor for himself as Israel's prophet. The garment that Elijah put on Elisha was not just any old overcoat, but a symbolic garment, the mantle of a prophet. Like a priest's clerical collar or vestments, this was a sign of the calling and the job. Putting it on Elisha meant that Elisha was eventually to inherit Elijah's role. But as it is with a modern priest's vestments, he didn't get it all at once. There was a period of apprenticeship first, and Elisha was to be Elijah's assistant curate for a while. Ahab wasn't dead yet. In fact, tomorrow we will read of one occasion when even he repented and humbled himself before Yahweh. More battles and warnings followed, and Ahab would eventually die in battle. Nowadays, we do not believe that humans can fathom out God's purposes in detail. But the editors of the ancient books thought they had it clear in their minds that God's justice will always become obvious. Elijah, as we shall soon see, will have been invited to heaven, the first human to have been invited there at all in the biblical text. And Ahab and his wife Jezebel both died unpleasantly, to lie unforgiven in their graves. That then is how the story will have developed in their minds, and we see that reflected in the way the story messily unfolds. It probably was messy. That helps us to be sure we have at least a memory of a time of struggles for power, triumphs and disappointments, and the names of some of the characters involved. It's a privilege to have these ancient stories and these early thoughts about the meaning of it all. We can see that there has been a lot of refinement in our understanding since those days. Worse is to come, of course, before the greater prophets can get to work, seeing God's purposes in a much more profound way than in these old tales. By now, Elijah had become a force to be reckoned with, as we shall see in the story of Ahab and Naboth's vineyard, and how pagan Ahab is forced to apologize to Yahweh for his evil behavior. I'll see you tomorrow.